All right, let's dive in. We're cracking open The Great CEO Within by Matt Mochary today. This book is seriously like striking gold, you know?
It's like having a personal mentor, but like a Silicon Valley superstar. The guy's
Right.
coached companies like Coinbase and Open Door, so, he's not just talking the talk.
Exactly. He's been there,
Yeah.
done that. So picture this. You're at the helm of a brand new startup. This book, it's your roadmap. It's going to guide you through, all the excitement, but also all the craziness that comes with being an entrepreneur.
It really covers it all, beginning to end. We're going to be talking about finding the perfect co-founder, building a team that just crushes it, getting things done like a productivity ninja. We'll even talk about avoiding those common traps that can trip up even the most promising companies.
So first things first, Mapakari. He really hits hard on the importance of finding your tribe, your co-founder, your early team. I mean, I've heard this before, but he really makes you understand why it's so crucial, especially if it's your first time launching a startup.
Oh, absolutely. He even brings up Y Combinator, right? One of the top startup accelerators out there. And they really, really prefer co-founder teams. And for a good reason, studies show that solo founders, they burn out way more often.
So it's more than just splitting the workload, right? It's
Yeah.
like having someone in your corner, someone to brainstorm with, to share the ups and downs, because it's going to be a roller coaster, let's be real.
You hit the nail on the head. Mockery doesn't sugarcoat it. Starting a company, it's tough, it's brutal. Having someone by your side to weather those storms, well, that can make all the difference. But here's where it gets interesting. He also cautions against bringing in too many people too early.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can imagine a big team, especially early on, would just create more communication headaches, slow things down.
He mentions this idea from Y Combinator: don't go beyond a six-person team until you've nailed product market fit. They call it a magic number for staying nimble and focused.
Product market fit. It's like the holy grail for startups. But what does it really mean, like practically speaking?
It's that sweet spot. Your product's solving a real problem for real people, and those people are happy to pay for it. Mockery, he points to consistent revenue as a key sign that you've hit it.
So it's not just about building something cool. It's about building something people actually need and are willing to open their wallets for.
And that leads us to what Mockery calls his golden rule. Really, truly get your customers and their problems. Then build a company that solves those problems elegantly.
This reminds me of something we talked about when we did our deep dive on Bill Ullett's disciplined entrepreneurship.
Totally. Ollet's book is a fantastic resource. It walks you through a structured process for customer discovery. Who are your ideal customers? What are their pain points? Does your solution actually address those needs?
Both Mockery and Ollett, they're all about this customer obsession. It's not just a buzzword. It's like the cornerstone of building a business that lasts, a business that thrives.
You got it. Building something that nobody wants, that's a recipe for disaster, no matter how brilliant your idea might seem in the beginning.
All right, so we've got our co-founder. We're laser focused on our customers. What's next?
Well, before you can lead a team to success, you've got to level up your own game right. And for that, McGruffrey takes us deep into the world of personal productivity. We're starting with a system that's beloved by a ton of successful people: getting things done, or GTD.
GTD. I've always been curious about it, but also, I'll admit, a little intimidated. Is it really as life-changing as people say?
It can be, but it's not magic. It's about building a system that actually works for you, for how you operate. The core idea with GTD is to capture every single to-do. Get it out of your head and onto a system you can trust.
Okay, so far so good.
Yeah.
But where do all those to-dos go once they're, captured?
This is where the magic of GTD starts to happen. You organize all those to-dos into lists that you can act on: things you need to handle right now, things you're waiting on someone else for, even those big pie-in-the-sky ideas for down the road.
Okay, this is making more sense. Instead of having a million things swirling around in my brain, I have this clear, organized system to keep track of everything that needs to get done. So what kinds of lists are we talking about?
He talks about a few key lists. Each one's designed to keep you focused and prevent things from slipping through the cracks. You've got your next actions list. That's for tasks that need attention right this second. Then there's the waiting for list to track all those things you've delegated, and even a someday maybe list for those long-term aspirations.
The waiting for list, that's an interesting one. I could already see how helpful that would be to keep track of everything I've handed off to team members, make sure nothing falls through the cracks.
And that's exactly why Mockery really emphasizes regularly reviewing this list. It's easy to delegate a task and then completely forget about it, but with a system like GTD, you stay on top of everything, even if you're not the one doing the work.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal of GTD. It's not just about getting things done, it's about getting the right things done and having a system to keep it all organized.
And the great thing about GTD is that it's adaptable. You can tweak it to fit your own workflow. Mockery encourages you to try different tools and techniques, find what clicks for you.
It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's about finding what works for your style, your way of working.
One thing Mockery is really adamant about, no matter what your personality is or what industry you're in, is mastering email. Let's be honest, email can absolutely kill your productivity.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like this black hole sucking up all your time and energy. I'm all ears for any tips on how to conquer that beast.
Mockery has a brilliant analogy for this. He compares your inbox to a hospital triage room. You got to assess what's urgent and act on it immediately. If you let your inbox turn into a dumping ground for every message that comes in, you're guaranteed to miss those critical things.
Okay, that's a great analogy. So instead of constantly checking email all day long, we need to get strategic about how we manage those inboxes. What's the Mockery method?
He's a big fan of checking email just twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And when you do check it, you follow a strict process. If an email takes less than 2 minutes to handle, you do it right then and there. If it needs more time, you turn it into a task using your GTD system and you file it away.
So it's all about being decisive, efficient with your inbox, and using your GTD system to keep track of anything that requires more than a quick reply. Any other tips for making this work in the real world?
Mockery actually sends readers to a blog post by Andreas Klinger. It explains how to use GTD within Gmail. It's really practical. It walks you through setting up a system using Gmail's multiple inbox feature.
Sounds super helpful. I'm definitely going to check that out. Okay, so we've got GTD down, emails under control. What else does Mockery suggest for leveling up our personal game?
He has this concept he calls top goal, borrowed it from Greg McKeown's book Essentialism. The idea is to carve out 2 hours every day to work on your most important goal for the quarter.
2 hours every single day. That sounds pretty ambitious, maybe even impossible.
It might sound daunting, but remember, Mockery is all about what works. He suggests starting small, maybe just 30 minutes at first. The key is to do it early in the day when your brain's fresh and you're less likely to get interrupted.
Okay, I see how that can help you really make progress on those big, hairy, audacious goals.
Yeah.
It's easy to get swept up in the daily grind and never make time for those things that are important, but not necessarily urgent.
Exactly. And this isn't about just cramming more tasks into your day. It's about being intentional with your time, making sure you're focusing on what truly moves the needle.
Working smarter, not just harder, right? Aligning your actions with your long-term goals.
That's it. And this leads to another key principle Mockery emphasizes: being on time and present. Not just for meetings, but for every interaction.
This is where his experience as a CEO coach really shines through. These small details can make a huge difference in how people perceive you, how effectively you lead a team.
You're absolutely right. It's about showing respect for people's time, showing up prepared to actually engage. Mockery even suggests arriving 15 minutes early for external meetings. Gives you time to gather your thoughts and be fully present.
So it's not just about avoiding awkward apologies for being late. It's about setting the tone for a more productive, more respectful interaction. It's about being the kind of leader people want to follow.
Precisely. And this attention to detail, it carries over to how Mockery handles capturing information. He has this simple rule: if you say something twice, write it down.
Oh, I need that on a sticky note somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have I wasted time explaining the same thing over and over?
It happens to all of us. But when you write things down, you're creating a knowledge base. It saves you time, but it also makes it easier to delegate and bring new team members up to speed.
So it's about working smarter, not harder, right? Building systems that help you scale your efforts. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
And here's a pattern you might not expect in a book about business. Mockery is a big believer in gratitude. He argues that it's not just good for your personal well-being, but also for reaching peak performance.
Gratitude. That's an interesting twist. How does gratitude translate to better business results?
He mentions these studies showing that even athletes, their performance improves after doing gratitude exercises. Seems like focusing on what you're thankful for actually puts you in a more positive, more resourceful frame of mind.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about tapping into a mindset that lets you operate at your best.
Exactly. And there are simple ways to incorporate gratitude into your routine. Mockery loves the 5-minute journal. It guides you through a quick gratitude exercise every morning. I've tried it. It's surprisingly powerful.
All right, the 5-minute journal is going on my list. Sounds like a great way to start the day on a positive note. And speaking of positivity, I love how Mokri extends this gratitude outward. He encourages leaders to express appreciation to their team.
Totally. And this isn't just about being nice, there's strategy behind it. When you show genuine appreciation for your team, you create this more positive, supportive environment, and that can lead to more motivation, better results.
So gratitude, it's not just a feel-good practice. It's a tool for building a high-performing team.
Exactly. It's about recognizing what others bring to the table, creating a culture where people feel valued,
Mm.
respected. And that wraps up part one of our deep dive into the great CEO within.
Wow, we covered a lot. Finding a co-founder, mastering productivity, taming email, cultivating gratitude. It's like a crash course in being a more effective CEO.
It's been a journey, and we've just scratched the surface. In part two, we're going to delve into Mercury's insights on building a high-performing team, effective communication, making tough decisions, navigating conflict, all of that.
This is getting good. Can't wait to hear what Mockery has in store for us in part two. But before we go, let me quickly mention our sponsor, Cloutfit.ai, the CLOUTFIT.ai. They're using AI to totally revolutionize B2B fashion commerce. So if you're in the fashion industry and you're looking for ways to boost user engagement and increase revenue, definitely check them out.
Looking forward to continuing this deep dive. See you in part two.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Last time, we laid the groundwork for individual effectiveness, focusing on those habits that really set successful CEOs apart.
Yeah, it was like a total productivity makeover. But now I'm excited to shift gears, explore Mercury's thoughts on building a high-performing team. This is where it gets real, right?
Absolutely. And Mockery kicks off this section with a concept that, well, it might seem counterintuitive at first. He's a huge advocate for written communication, especially when it comes to making decisions.
Wait, hold on. So instead of like brainstorming in a meeting, he wants us to write essays. Not essays exactly. But he does encourage teams to submit these detailed proposals, outlining problems and solutions. And here's the kicker. Before any decision-making meeting.
Okay, I can see how that would force everyone to really think things through, but wouldn't it make meetings super boring?
Yeah.
Everyone just sitting there, reading documents in silence.
That's the surprising part. It actually makes meetings more efficient because everyone's already on the same page. You eliminate a lot of wasted time, all that back and forth.
So it's like front-loading the thinking. So the meeting itself can be all about making decisions, creating action plans. I like that.
Mercury also gives us a really helpful framework for thinking about different decision-making styles. He outlines 3 main approaches: dictatorial, consensus-seeking, and collaborative.
Right, let's break those down. Dictatorial, well, that sounds a little intense.
It is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
The leader makes the call pretty much without input from the team. It's fast, but you don't get a lot of buy-in.
Right, I can see how that might work for minor decisions, but for the big stuff, the strategic calls, you do really want input from the team.
Exactly. That's where consensus-seeking and collaborative come in. They both involve more discussion, more buy-in from the team, but they also take more time and effort.
So it's like choosing the right tool for the job. You wouldn't use a sledgehammer to crack a walnut.
That's a perfect analogy, and it highlights how important it is for a CEO to be adaptable, adjust their decision-making style to the situation.
But even in a collaborative environment, isn't there a risk the CEO's opinion will carry too much weight? People naturally want to please the boss, right? So they might not speak up, even if they disagree.
You're spot on, and Mockery addresses this directly. He calls it the loudest voice in the room problem. The CEO's opinion can unintentionally drown out everyone else's.
Love that term. Okay, so how do we avoid creating that kind of CEO echo chamber?
Mockery has a brilliant solution, and it's so simple. Have everyone write down their thoughts before the CEO even says a word. That way, everyone's voice is genuinely heard.
It's funny how often the simplest solutions are the most effective. But I wonder, in a fast-paced startup environment, is it realistic to expect everyone to, write things down before every meeting? Seems like it could add a lot of overhead.
It's a valid concern. I think it's about finding the right balance. For routine decisions, a quick chat might be enough. But for those big make-or-break moments, taking the time to get those thoughtful, written contributions, it can be incredibly valuable.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm adding pre-meeting write-ups to my leadership toolkit. Great way to make sure everyone feels heard, that decisions are made with all those different perspectives. Now, let's talk about conflict. It's bound to happen on any team. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing, right?
Right. And Mercury offers a really powerful framework for navigating conflict, making it constructive. He calls it impeccable agreements.
Impeccable agreements. Sounds both intriguing and kind of intimidating. What's that all
Yeah.
about?
It's about going beyond surface level agreement. It's creating a shared understanding, one that's clear, that everyone is committed to, and that has consequences. It all starts with making sure everyone feels truly heard, truly understood.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you actually do that, especially when emotions are running high and people are, digging in their heels?
Mockery gives us this step-by-step guide for those tough conversations. It involves things like summarizing the other person's point until they say, yep, you got it. You dig deeper, uncover their thoughts, their feelings, and you address those core emotions: anger, fear, sadness, joy, excitement.
So it's about going beyond the surface of the disagreement, getting to the heart of what's driving the conflict. It's about understanding the other person's perspective, not just trying to win the argument.
Exactly. And once you reach that deep level of understanding, then you can start working together, finding a solution that works for everyone. And that solution, it gets formalized, a clear action plan, specific steps, deadlines, and consequences for not following through.
I love how mockery brings this structure, this intentionality, to something as messy as conflict. It's so easy to get caught up in the drama, but this framework gives you a way to step back, listen, and find a path forward that benefits everyone.
And you know what? These impeccable agreements, they're not just for conflict resolution. You can use them for any kind of agreement, setting expectations for a project, defining roles, even outlining a company's core values.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about creating clarity, alignment right from the start, so you're less likely to bump into conflicts down the road. It's like preventative medicine for team dynamics.
And that brings us to another key theme that runs through this whole section on building a team: conscious leadership.
Conscious leadership, huh?
Ah,
I'm sensing a theme here, a lot of consciousness going on in this book. So what's the core of conscious leadership?
it's about shifting from ego to curiosity, from being right to wanting to learn, creating a space where everyone feels safe to share their ideas, even if those ideas go against what the leader thinks.
I love that. It's recognizing that as a leader, you don't have all the answers. It's being open to different perspectives, being willing to learn from your team.
Absolutely. And Murgari gives us some really practical tools for putting this into practice. One of them is called the drama triangle.
Drama triangle. Okay, that sounds a little dramatic. What's that all about?
It's a framework for identifying the hero, the victim, and the villain in a situation. Not about assigning blame, but about understanding the roles people play in conflicts and how those roles can escalate things.
Okay, starting to see how this could be helpful. It's about taking a step back from the immediate conflict, seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. And by understanding those roles, you can start to shift the dynamic, find more constructive ways to communicate, to resolve conflict.
So it's about moving beyond those knee-jerk reactions, finding a more conscious way to interact. All right, drama triangle is going on my leadership toolkit list. So it's a great way to diffuse those tense situations, make conversations more productive. What else does Markery recommend for fostering this conscious leadership?
He also really emphasizes empathy, truly feeling the feelings of others, whether it's your customers, your investors, or your team.
Empathy, that makes perfect sense. But it's easier said than done, right? How do we actually cultivate empathy in a fast-paced business world?
Mukuri encourages leaders to be genuinely curious about people's situations. Put yourself in their shoes, see the world from their perspective.
So it's not just about being nice, it's about making a real effort to understand what's motivating the other person, what challenges they're facing, what they need to succeed.
You got it. That deep understanding, it's crucial for building trust, building rapport, which are the foundation of any high-performing team.
We've covered so much: communication, decision-making, conflict resolution, leadership. What else does Mukuri explore in this section on building a team?
He has a whole chapter on culture, and it's one of the most insightful parts of the book.
Culture, okay. Seems like every company these days has a list of values plastered on their website. What's different about Mokuri's take on it?
He suggests a really unique exercise, asking the question, the rest of you can make all the decisions about the company as long as.
Wow, that's powerful. It really makes you think about your non-negotiables, the principles you absolutely won't compromise on.
Exactly. It's about getting to the core of what matters to you, to your company, and then using those values to guide every single decision you make.
So it's not about coming up with a lump of buzzwords. It's about defining the principles that will shape your company's culture. guide its behavior.
Absolutely. And once you have those values, you got to walk the talk. Actions speak louder than words, and your team will see right through any hypocrisy.
It's about living your values every day, not just talking about them in meetings or putting them on a poster.
Right. That authenticity, it's essential for building trust, buy-in from your team. They need to see that you believe in what you're saying, that you're living those values yourself.
Beyond values, what else does Montgomery cover when it comes to building a strong company culture?
He emphasizes focusing on output over hours. He believes people should be judged on the results they deliver, not how much time they spend at the office. This creates a results-oriented culture and gives people more flexibility with their schedules.
I love that. It's about giving people autonomy, trust, empowering them to manage their own time, their own workload. But how do you make sure everyone is pulling their weight, delivering high-quality work if you're not tracking hours?
That's where you need clear goals, clear expectations, and performance metrics. If you have a system to track progress, hold people accountable for results, you don't need to micromanage their time.
It's about shifting from a culture of just being present to a culture of performance. That's
Yeah.
a big shift. What else does Muckery recommend for creating a positive, productive work environment?
He's a big believer in the power of meals together. He even suggests offering free lunch to employees every day.
Free lunch. That's a pretty sweet perk. But how does that actually help build a strong company culture?
It creates a sense of community, encourages those informal interactions between people from different teams, different departments.
So it's not just about the food. It's about creating opportunities for people to connect on a more personal level, build relationships outside their immediate work teams.
You got it. It's about breaking down silos, fostering a sense of camaraderie across the whole organization.
Okay, I'm sold. Free lunch is going on the list.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about something a little less pleasant. Toxic politics. How do we prevent those kinds of dysfunctional dynamics from taking root in our company culture?
Mochary's solution is to create a culture of transparency and fairness, especially when it comes to things like compensation and promotions. Have clear written policies in place, minimize the potential for favoritism and lobbying.
So it's about creating a level playing field, making sure everyone understands the rules of the game.
Exactly. He even introduces this concept called grade-level planning, used by companies like Tesla. It's a system for creating a fair, transparent compensation structure based on clearly defined roles and seniority levels.
Love that. Takes the guesswork out of compensation, creates a system where people are rewarded based on their contributions, their level of responsibility. Sounds like a great way to attract and retain top talent.
It is, and it's a great example of how Mochary blends his practical experience with these cutting-edge ideas to give us a roadmap for building a truly exceptional company culture.
This has been an incredible deep dive into building high-performing teams. We've talked about communication styles, conflict resolution, conscious leadership, company culture. It's been a lot.
It's been quite a journey, and I think we've all learned a lot from Mochary's insights. But we're not done yet. In part 3, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of building the systems and infrastructure that allow a company to scale effectively.
I can't wait. But before we move on, another shout out to our sponsor, Cloutfit.ai. That's CLOUTFIT.ai. They're using the power of AI to help fashion businesses thrive in the digital world. So if you're in the fashion industry and you're looking to boost user engagement and increase revenue, definitely go check them out.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered so much productivity hacks, building a great team. Now it's time to tackle the, I guess you could say, the less glamorous stuff. Systems and infrastructure.
It's like laying the foundation, right?
Yeah.
The stuff that allows a company to run smoothly, even when it's growing like crazy.
I'm ready to get into the nuts and bolts. Where do we even begin?
Mochary. He starts with something that might seem surprisingly basic. A well-structured folder system and a company wiki.
You know, I wouldn't have thought of that as a top priority, but now that you mention it, as a company grows, it's easy for information to get siloed, lost in a sea of emails and documents. Exactly. A clear folder system, whether it's Google Drive, Dropbox, whatever you use, makes it easy for everyone to find what they need. And a company wiki. Think of it like a central hub, all those essential documents, company policies, product specs, meeting notes, all in one place.
So a single source of truth. Everyone's on the same page. Saves time, prevents confusion.
And no more of those "where's that document" moments. We've all been there.
Oh, for sure. Productivity killer. Okay, so organized folder system, company wiki check. What's next on Mochary's infrastructure list?
He's a big believer in goal tracking systems. Every company, big or small, needs a clear way to track progress towards its goals.
This reminds me of all those times I felt totally overwhelmed, like juggling a million things at once. A visual system to track goals, deadlines, that would bring some sanity to the chaos.
Exactly. It keeps everyone focused, accountable. Plus, you can measure progress, spot any roadblocks early on.
So it's not just about setting goals, it's about having a system to make sure you're actually moving towards them. Okay, goal tracking system check. What else?
Mockery introduces this concept called areas of responsibility, or AORs for short.
AORs, okay. What's the thinking behind those? What problem are they solving?
It's about preventing what he calls the tragedy of the commons. Everyone's responsible for something, but no one actually takes ownership.
Ugh, I've seen that happen so many times. It's like a hot potato. No one wants to be left holding it.
Exactly. Leads to missed deadlines, frustration, the whole 9 yards. Mockery's solution: a simple document lists every single function in the company, and each function is assigned to one person, and one person only.
So clear ownership, accountability for every task, no matter how big or small. Makes a lot of sense.
And that clarity extends to another important thing: avoiding single points of failure.
Single points of failure. Okay, that sounds a little ominous. What does that look like in a startup?
It's when you have one person who's the only one who knows how to do something crucial, maybe managing the servers, processing payroll, whatever it is. If that person gets sick, leaves, wins the lottery, and disappears, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I see the problem. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Mockery's advice: build systems that are resilient, don't rely on any one individual. Two key things: write down all your processes and cross-train someone else for every critical role.
So documenting knowledge, having a backup plan, building systems that can handle the unexpected. Love that. It's like a safety net for your business.
And speaking of systems, Mockery is all about tracking key performance indicators, or KPIs.
KPIs, yeah. Heard the term, always seemed a little intimidating, to be honest.
Think of them like your company's vital signs, the metrics that tell you at a glance how things are going. Customer acquisition cost, website traffic, sales conversion rates, anything that's essential for measuring progress and spotting potential problems.
So pick the metrics that matter and watch them like a hawk.
Exactly. And Mockery emphasizes making those KPIs visible to the entire team. Everyone's aligned, working towards the same goals, same metrics. It creates a sense of shared purpose, shared accountability.
I like that. Okay, we've got our folder system, our goal tracking, AORs, KPIs. What else is on Mochary's list?
He has a whole section dedicated to meetings. It's one of the most practical parts of the book.
Meetings, huh?
Yeah.
Not usually a topic that gets people excited. What's so special about Mochary's approach?
He lays out this system for maximum efficiency: regular team meetings, one-on-ones, company-wide meetings, all with clear agendas and strict time limits.
Okay, structure, keeping things moving. But isn't there a risk of too many meetings? People spending all their time in meetings instead of actually doing the work?
That's where that written communication comes in again. He suggests everyone submits updates, issues, feedback, all in writing before the meeting. People can process information beforehand. Meetings are for discussion, decision-making.
Meetings with a purpose, not just the default way to communicate.
Yeah.
Respecting everyone's time, making sure they're actually productive.
Exactly. And he gives you templates for each type of meeting, how much time for each agenda item. The system is designed to eliminate wasted time, boost productivity.
Meeting system overhaul is going on my to-do list. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, let's talk about feedback. It's something a lot of people dread, giving and receiving. But it's crucial for growth, right?
Absolutely. Mockery believes feedback is a gift, not a punishment. Leaders should actively seek it out, even the critical kind. Create a culture where feedback is seen as a way to learn and improve.
I agree. In a startup, things move so fast, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. Feedback, good or bad, helps you course correct, make sure everyone's on the right track.
And it's not just about taking feedback well, it's about giving it effectively. Mockery gives a framework for giving feedback that's clear, specific, and focused on behavior, not personality.
So honest, direct, but also respectful and constructive.
You got it. The goal is to help people grow, not tear them down.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've gone from productivity tips to building a team to setting up systems for success. It's like a masterclass in how to build a startup.
It has been a journey. Remember, building a successful company, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes hard work, dedication, and a willingness to keep learning, keep adapting.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of learning and adapting, one last shout out to our sponsor, cloudfit.ai. They're using AI to help fashion businesses stay ahead of the game. If you're in the fashion industry, definitely worth checking out.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.